Howdy folks, Eric Ali here with Eagle Claw Fish and Tackle. I'm joined by Wandy Kirkland with Eagle Claw. Wandy, you wear multiple hats here, but you're a product manager and also OEM sales manager.
Yep, that's correct.
And also an angler yourself.
Yes, of course.
So we're here, we're talking ice fishing. When this video goes out, there's a lot of people that are gonna be getting ready to gear up for ice fishing. We have a new line of products that we're so excited about called CRYO.
Yes.
We have rods, we have reels. One of the first things that folks are going to notice is these rods look custom. Yeah. If you could touch them right now and they feel custom, what was the idea of bringing a custom rod, custom reel to the market from Eagle Claw? And we'll talk about the price here in just a second.
Yeah, so, when we first looked at it, there's a lot of different rod styles out there in ice, and you've got your old-fashioned ones. You got the ones with regular reel seats on them. What we were trying to do, because here at Eagle Claw we're always focused on quality value for the consumer, and one of the things is when you get to custom rods, you've got quality, extreme quality, but you've got a really high price point for most brands. So what we focused on is we wanted that same quality, but we wanted to try to get it down to a price point that the average consumer can afford, and they can afford to have multiple instead of just one of a rod.
Yeah.
So we took those same features and benefits, lightweight, solid carbon blanks, reduction of the reel seat, because reel seats add a lot of weight to rods, and custom style guides on an ice rod so that guys can have not only the custom look, but also the feel of the rod too.
So super high performance.
Correct.
Correct. And I love the fly guide on the top.
Yep.
You guys have done such a great job because everybody in product at Eagle Claw, they fish. Everybody in marketing, we fish.
Yep.
And taking the feedback and also having a knowledge base to build rods is one thing that some people can do, but build rods that everybody can afford. It's not something that's easy.
No, it's not. It's not. You have to really look at it and decide, okay, if this is truly what puts the angler in touch with the line, which is in touch with the hook, which we make the hooks, right? And in touch with the fish, so they can feel every little bite, every little nudge under the surface, you've really got to figure out what's most important. And in rods, most of the time, it's the blank, right? That's what puts you in connection. And then you want to eliminate all the items that are frivolous, and you want to get it down to the bare bones, and that's really what we did here. So, we took a new handle, we trimmed it down, slimmed it down, right, to reduce weight, put you more in contact with the blank, and now you can feel every little tick, every little bump, every little nudge from the fish.
You guys won't believe how light they are when you get them in your hand. It's crazy, and by now, a lot of people are going, okay, well, how much are we going to pay? Are we talking, a custom's over 100, so are we talking 70, 80, 85? What's the price point of these rods?
$39.99 is MSRP on the rods.
$39.99. Like you said, you can fill a quiver, your ice rod case. You can fill them with rods at that price point.
Correct.
And the performance is going to be there like a custom. Let's talk a little bit. We talked about the features a little bit. We talked about the Tennessee handle, the blank itself, kind of the meat and potatoes. Super sensitive, and everything that you selected adds to the sensitivity, doesn't take it away.
Correct. Yep. Ice rods, performance ice rods are all going to solid carbon blanks, and that's what we did here. We went with a solid carbon blank. The only one I'll make this caveat: the noodle rod. It's impossible to make a true noodle with a solid carbon blank because you just can't get that flex at the tip. So that one is a glass blank, but every other one in this series is solid carbon. And like I said, this handle style that we did is really interesting because we took a lot of different styles of handles with and without reel seats, and we tried to find out, a lot of guys are using the pencil technique, when they're fishing for panfish or even trout or walleye. We wanted to put it in their hand in such a way that it wasn't too thick. Like, we didn't want it thick and chunky, and we wanted to keep the weight low. I mean, these rods are so light, you have to measure them in grams. You can't even measure them in ounces. So, we took this design and we said, hey, we're going to try a bunch of different blanks. We're going to find out what works, different actions, and we came up with these fantastic rods. I love these rods, the fit, function, the benefit, and the price point too. We don't want an angler just to go, oh yeah, I'm going to get these from me We want them to be able to say, you know what, I can get my kids some.
Yeah.
Like, I can afford to buy not only a few for myself, but my wife wants to fish with me.
Yep.
She can get some too, and we can get the kids some too, right? Because they're affordable. So, which could be a bad thing, because now you're like, okay, the kids have them. They're not going to want to buy a cheaper rod.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's a flimsy little noodle. They're going to want, you know, performance rods. So, you know, stainless steel guides on these, right? These are all stainless steel with the single foot fly. You know, hook keeper on it. You know, a lot of rods have those same features, but what we've done is we've gone to the extreme of light and with the extreme of sensitivity in the blank. So,
well, in talking about light, real quick, the performance, I think we've already outlined it. And like I said, guys, when you get these rods in your hand, you're not going to believe how light and how sensitive they are. But there's durability here too. I've
Correct.
beat these rods up for an entire season. I have no issues whatsoever, and it's just, it's one of those things. When you get super sensitive rods, sometimes you get super fragile rods. That's not the case with cryo. They're
Correct.
durable as well.
yes, they are extremely durable. We made sure and we tested them all last winter. You know, guys dropped them. You know, they treated them like they would any other rod.
Yep.
And, you know, you stuff them in your ice rod case, you drop them on the ice, fish are bending them down into the holes, you know, because nobody's watching them on the rod holder.
Yep.
You know, they withstood a beating last season before we released it to the general public. So, you know, they've been tested through and through. So we know that they're durable.
Yeah, and another thing I want to point out, you talked about kids fishing. The funnest part of ice fishing is feeling the bite
Oh,
for
yeah.
a lot of people. And with cryo, you are going to feel everything.
Yep.
If you're using a minnow, you're going to feel when the minnow gets nervous. They're super, super sensitive. So, Andy, let's go through a rod-by-rod breakdown and talk a little bit about, you know, what species are going to be used for, kind of the jigs that you would use with it or the bait that you would use
Sure.
with it.
Yep.
And let's go top to bottom.
Sure. We can start with the shortest one. Let's start short and go
Okay,
long.
perfect.
Okay. We've got the 24-inch light, which I have here in my hand, right? And it's a lure weight's 1/24 to 3/16. So, you know, we originally designed this for a lot of, you know, panfish guys or guys fishing, you know, maybe some smaller trout with some really small tungsten, micro jigs, things like that, tipped with maggies or mealworms or waxworms, whatever, you know, whatever the guys might like. But, you know, we originally designed this 24-inch for that, right, with a lightweight backbone but extremely sensitive tip. So you can see, I mean, it's got plenty of room to work, you know, the rod and, you know, not have any issues. And then moving up from there, we've got the 26.
And I just want to say one thing about that rod. I've been ice fishing since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. That's my all-time favorite bluegill rod, and it's not even close.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, personally, we'll get to it, but the noodle, the 28 noodle is one of my favorites. But let's move on to the 26. You know, this one's a little bit more backbone. It's got the medium light. You know, it's got a fast tip on it. This one's kind of the in-between. It's where, you know, you've got your guy who might be going for eater walleye, but yet also guys who want to trout fish can trout fish with this, and guys who go for like bigger crappie, bigger perch. I mean, this is a great sensitive rod for that, and it still has plenty of backbone. So when you go for that hook set, that thing is going to lock right in.
And when it comes to lengths, you worked really hard to offer a little bit of everything as far as preference is concerned, because sometimes the length is going to be a little bit preference. So we've got variety there.
Yeah, and one of the things we focused on is not just anglers that are going to be, you know, outside the hut and maybe they're ice trolling or whatever. We also focused on, okay, you know, what rods would guys use inside of a hut, right? Because you don't want to be banging into your tent, you know, inside of a hut and stuff. So, you know, that's one of the things. And with this guy, you know, I fished him last season, and I loved using little Swedish pimples, little spoons, things like that, little Castmasters. They're great on this rod, the great action, and you can feel every little wiggle in that lure. The next rod in the series, which is this one here, this is the 28 medium light, and this is not the noodle rod, but it's a standard 28-inch medium light rod. Again, a little more length, so a little more hook set, but the same medium light backbone, but fast tip, right?
A little
action.
finessey, right?
Yes.
A little bit finessey. That's awesome.
Correct, yeah. And so, you know, it's funny, we go up to 32, but I can pencil fish any of these rods.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so light, even if you put a reel on them, it's so easy to just, you know, have a quick action on that lure with it. And again, this one's great for spoons. You can go up a little bit bigger with this 28-inch. You can do some small blade baits, you know, some small rattle, like the Rapala Rip and Wraps, things like that. You know, it's a great rod for that. Now, the next one, of course, is the one that's my favorite, which I can't wait to get to. and talk about, which is that 28 Noodle. This guy is a panfish slayer. I love this rod, and for the fact that it is an S-glass rod and it's still this light, it's ridiculous. And the tip on it is crazy. Sorry.
So let's talk real quick. So a lot of folks, the thing about CRYO is it's opening up rods like a Noodle rod at a price point that's super, super affordable. This,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, can talk a little bit about what a Noodle rod is for some of the folks that might not know what a Noodle rod is.
Yeah, so basically a Noodle rod is a rod that you'd find it's got a fairly stiff backbone, but the tip is so sensitive that you can even see like a bluegill, sometimes they'll push the bait up rather than taking it down. And on this Noodle rod, it's so sensitive at the tip that even a light jig will cause it to bend, and when a bluegill comes and takes that bait underwater, you'll actually be able to see it rise. You know, it has this flex in the tip that you will not get out of a graphite rod, you know, while the rest of the backbone is still nice and straight. So the backbone on these rods, you know, we worked on this Noodle so that it would start to kick in at that third guide, so that when you get the hook set, it's right there.
So by the time you load up on them, it's a done deal.
Oh, it's done. It's over.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and the fish doesn't feel it. You know, some rods are a little bit stouter and the fish will feel a little resistance. With the Noodle, there's almost no resistance in the tip, and then it, bang, you're right there.
So light biters like perch perch are notorious for that. They're not going to have any indication that something's going on, where if you weren't using a rod that had the tip like this CRYO does, there's going to be a little indicator, and that's when, if you've ever had an underwater camera, perch will spit out anything that doesn't feel right to them. So this, at the end of the day, is going to put more fish topside, period. Correct.
And I'm a huge bluegill, perch guy, crappie guy, and this is the rod, my go-to rod for any of those species. You know, another thing, guys in the Rocky Mountains, you know, we're here in Colorado, trout spit quick. They'll take something, if it doesn't feel right, they'll spit it instantly, and this actually, you know, keeps them on the hook just a little bit longer because they don't feel that resistance.
So quick question, Wandy, is the Noodle your favorite rod in the lineup?
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Awesome.
Rod in the lineup. Yeah.
Awesome.
If you didn't get that already.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's my favorite. And the last one in the lineup right now, this is the big boy right now. It's a 32-inch. You know, we designed this for the guys who are really targeting walleye, right? They're the walleye hunters. They're out there. You know, they're chasing them. This is an 1/8 to 1/4 ounce lure weight on this. It's a medium backbone, again, with that fast tip, so you can get some real good action on ripping wraps or jigging wraps, big spoons, things like that, whatever you might go after. But this is like the walleye hunter guy, you know, the guy going for those trophy walleyes. So
it's got the pop needed to get the action you want with the reaction style baits. Could you still get away with using minnows with it and having a little extra backbone for bigger fish?
Oh yeah, sure. You can use live bait with any of the rods. You know, when we talk about custom rods, we always talk about using artificials, but any of the rods you can use live bait with, right? And with this rod, you could even drop shot. You know, you could even drop shot through the ice with this. A lot of guys use that for open water, you know, technique, but you could drop shot with this rod easily through the ice, you know. So, and we were just talking about drop shot weights a minute ago. So, I mean, you know, for this rod, which is incredible, I've seen guys catching bluegill and panfish with this rod through the ice that they thought, oh, I'd never catch a panfish with this rod last year, and they did, you know.
So sensitive enough to feel everything, powerful enough to drive hooks home and catch big, giant walleye.
Correct. Yes, that is correct. So, yeah, these rods, we took a lot of time with them, making sure they were right. We even added a little benefit, which I skipped over before, and I don't know if you can see it on camera, but on this handle here, on the underside, in order for you to align your reel properly when you tape it on or zip tie it or whatever you want to do to it, we've actually got markers between the two green lines that show you where to put the foot of the reel.
The devil's in the details. The devil's in the details. It's little stuff like that. It's fixing problems before anglers know they're ever a thing. That like, you know, we're anglers before we're anything, right? And any time that somebody fixes a problem before you have it, it's just awesome. So the lineup itself, super, super versatile.
Yes.
And you could really outfit yourself from bluegill, trout, walleye, and everything in between.
Yep.
you also have to put something on those rods.
Yes, you do.
And,
yeah, you do. Yeah,
and you
do.
guys did cool stuff with the reels as well.
Yeah.
We didn't just do one. We've done multiple.
We've done multiple. We came out with a new series of spinning reels that go with the CRYO, and there's 2 different sizes, and I'll just show this one here, which is the 5. So we went with the size 5, which is normal for a lot of panfish guys. They want something small, they want something light, and since we're going with light rods, we wanted to go with fairly light ice spinning reels. But white lithium grease all throughout, 5.1 to 1 ratio, 6+1 ball bearing. These reels match up perfectly with these rods. And we also did something different. Instead of going 5 to 10, like a lot of reels do, we went 5 to an 8. So we have one that's in between a 5 and a 10. So both of these reels cover just about any kind of ice fishing that you've got for any species, whether it be walleye to panfish. And then on top of that, we added this new inline reel, which is we were the originators of the original inline that's still sold today. It's like the top selling inline reel on the market for ice. We added this trigger reel. Now, other companies have come out with the trigger version of the reel. We decided to put a line guide here, ceramic line guide in the front. We also adjusted the trigger just a little bit. Most are kind of flat and they come straight up. Well, when we're fishing a lot of times and we're ice trolling, we're chasing, we're hunting our prey, we got gloves on because it's cold.
Yeah.
And we wanted a little more room because I like to slip 2 fingers in, right? And we wanted a little room to get gloved hands in there. Yeah. So we actually redesigned the trigger and beveled it forward slightly so that you can get a gloved hand in here and not get in the way of trapping it.
Total control.
Yep.
I mean, it's so precise. It's one of the things I love about the entire CRYO lineup is everything is high performance. Spinning reels, for instance, that drag will never let you down. That drag system, we've all beat them up. We've caught carp through the ice.
Yes.
And the drag doesn't slow down. It's super smooth. And then when it comes to the inline, the trigger inline, I was shocked with the precision when I first started fishing it. 'Cause, most of us that if you're buying CRYO, you probably have a fish finder.
Oh yeah.
Whether you're watching, I use live sonar, or whether you're watching a flasher. To be able to stop on a dime exactly where you want it to stop without it flubbing around or anything is so vital. Especially when the bite's tough, to have total control. It really is an asset to any ice angler.
Yeah, and one of the things that we fail to consider is that we assume at this point a lot of people understand the inline reel and realize that it's to take the twist out of the line so that your line goes straight down. Because when it comes off a bail, it's got some twist to it, right? So that's something else to mention too. An inline provides that straight line coming off the reel, almost like a bait caster would in open water, right? So that's another benefit of using an inline reel. But we thought, since we're the originators of the original inline reel for ice, we need to come out with the trigger reel, because the guys like to be able to pull the trigger to let it drop and then stop it instantly, and that's what this reel does. So again, we use white lithium grease on all of our ice reels so they don't freeze up in the wintertime. So another added benefit. But these are sweet reels that go with these rods, and they're fantastic.
They're a joy to fish, and I'm going to say it over and over again. We're going to do our best to translate how light they are. You're not going to understand it until you grab one.
Oh yeah.
As soon as you grab one, you feel how light it is. You feel how crisp it is. You're going to understand that it's going to be a tool that's going to help you catch more fish on the ice. And then when you see the price point,
oh yeah,
it's one of those things. I can't buy just one.
No, and that's the reason guys are spending so much money on augers, whether it be electric or propane or gas or whatever. They're spending a lot of money on sonar. And up north, the guys have ATVs, snow machines. They got to drag all this gear out on the ice. You shouldn't have to break the bank on trying to decide what rod am I going to use, right? I mean, I don't like to go out and keep switching lures all the time because I'm going to change what species I'm going to chase, right? I like to have a rod set up for every species. So if I get on bluegill, I'll fish bluegill, right? And I'll use the right rod for that. If I get on walleye, I'll have the walleye rod ready to go, right? So this allows anglers to do that affordably, right? And even the reels are affordable too. I mean, the price points on the spinning reels, our suggested MSRP is $49.99. It's $69.99 on the inline, right? Which an inline trigger, you're not going to find one of this quality at that price point, right?
So a combo is still less than some of the inline triggers that are on the market right now.
Correct.
For the rod and the reel, it's just that the value that you guys have put into CRYO paired with the performance, it really, as soon as you guys see this, reach out to us, go to your local tackle retailer because they should be available this ice season.
Yes.
Put them in your hands. They're absolutely amazing. We fished them all year last year, and like I said, you're not going to believe how light they are, but powerful at the same time.
Oh yeah, I think somebody caught a 4.5 pound bass through the ice with the noodle rod. I think. Yeah.
Matt, I remember Matt did, and it's one of those things. So the drag system, it's one of those things. Whenever you're targeting big fish through the ice, a lot of folks don't talk about the drag system in these reels, and it's so vital. When it gets cold, if your drag system locks up, and let's say Matt was probably using what, 4 pound test, maybe?
4 pound test, yeah.
If it locks up, you're done.
Yeah.
The fish makes a hard run, you're done. But with the grease that you guys have in these reels and how you have them set up, the drag system is never going to fail, whether it's cold or whether it's not.
Oh yeah, yeah. It'll stay steady with you the whole time. Yep.
That's perfect. So, $39.99 on the rods, guys. Absolutely phenomenal. What was the price point on the reels? One more time.
The spinning reels are MSRP is $49.99, and then $69.99 on the inline.
Awesome.
Yep.
Anything else you want to tell the folks about CRYO?
You got to fish them. I mean, you got to fish them to understand and get them in your hands. I mean, once you feel them, you'll be blown away.
There used to be an old potato chip commercial. I bet you can't eat just one.
Yeah.
That's how I feel with CRYO.
Yeah.
You're not going to fish with one.
Yeah.
They're absolutely awesome. Wandy, thank you so much for again bringing the angling public high performance gear that we can afford. Like you said, we can buy our kids one. We can buy a couple for ourselves. And we're not losing out on anything. We're gaining performance at a price that's unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, people have to remember that Eagle Claw is not like a lot of other companies. We're still family owned, and we have a family focus. And you want to get your family fishing, we got to make it affordable, right? So
and your kids are going to feel the bites. They're going to want to come back.
Yeah,
guys, thank you so much for watching this. We're going to have a website that you can click on. You can look at the landing page. You can get more information about the rods and the reels. If you got any questions, reach out to us. We'd love to help you. And Wandy, thanks again for another awesome product coming from Eagle Claw.
yeah. Eric, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Awesome.